Welcome to the Futurebuild Podcast, the show where we connect the people, ideas and innovations shaping a better built environment. I'm Martin Hurn, Event Director of Futurebuild, and today we're launching something very special, the 2026 edition of the Big Retrofit Challenge. Now, this is more than just a competition, it's a national call for solutions. A challenge designed to unlock the breakthrough products, systems and services that will transform how we decarb our buildings at scale. And it's brought to you by the National Home Decarbonisation Group, Innovate UK and Futurebuild. Joining me to explore what's ahead is someone that's leading that change. Laura Marks, Chair of the NHDG's Innovation Working Group and Innovation Champion of United Infrastructure. Now, Laura brings a unique voice to the retrofit space, one grounded in real-world experience, from frontline customer service in the social housing sector to her current work driving innovation through client and resident engagement. In this episode, we'll explore Laura's journey into the sector, her perspective on what innovation really means, and how organisations like United Infrastructure are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We'll also dive deep into the Big Retrofit Challenge 2026, what's new, what they're looking for, and how you can be part of the next wave of innovators tackling decarbonisation head on. If you're working on something that could make homes healthier, warmer, and zero carbon, this is your opportunity. So let's get into it, and welcome to the podcast.
Laura, an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Great. We're here to talk about quite an exciting initiative that we're launching. But before we get into that, we always like to cover the individual. Love to just go through your career journey and what got you into the built environment.
Yeah, so my career journey spans quite a bit, but I used to work in retail. So I worked in retail management, lots around kind of commercial and things like that. And I kind of got to a stage in my career where I realised what I was doing didn't necessarily have a lot of value to it. I wasn't helping anyone, and I wanted what I spent my time doing to mean something. And I just had my daughter at the very start of the pandemic, and role came up with a housing association in customer service. So I started there. I jumped right in at the deep end, as I'm sure you can appreciate, pandemic, and kind of that real sense of uncertainty for people. And I was frontline staff trying to kind of navigate a very evolving world within the housing sector. So yeah, very, very different to where I started, and also to where I am now. But yeah, absolutely loved it. Very, very exciting.
Before we get into your sort of current role and the role of United Infrastructure in particular, love to talk about maybe your experience on, so we're going to be focusing on innovation, and especially in the retrofit sector. And the majority of that is happening obviously in the social housing market. And I think something that doesn't maybe get talked about enough is the sort of the resident side of thing and what it means at that at a person level, at a social level.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Obviously, I've just alluded to it. Having started in customer service, I like to think I understand and know the pinch points that people go through day to day, and then throwing something like retrofit into the equation, which is very much in its infancy. Not necessarily understood by everyone on a massive scale. I think that kind of resident engagement, that real people focus is where the industry needs to start, and especially around kind of innovation. So how we're communicating with people, is it the best way? What new technologies are coming through to enable more effective communication and education as well, I think. So, yeah.
I suppose it's that human side, isn't it? So I imagine with retrofit and innovation, we see it as, it's fantastic. We're upgrading properties, we're making them more energy efficiency, we're decarbing them. But I suppose at a resident side, this is disruptive.
Yeah. Oh, massively. Absolutely. I mean, any measure that we put in, and it could be something that people deem within the industry as something as simple as loft top-ups, for example, under retrofit. You have to think about what people have got up there, their capabilities of being able to get into a loft space, to take any items down that they've got, to enable us to even think about doing the work. We'll do surveys at the start of a project, and half the time you can't even get the loft hatch open. It's crammed full of Christmas decorations and 20 years worth of personal belongings that people have sort of forgotten about. So I think, like I sort of said, that educational piece for people, helping them to really understand what the work means and how it will benefit them is key in that resident engagement piece early on. And perhaps that is where innovation comes in, and how we make sure people understand what we're looking to do and how it benefits them.
Yeah. And let's talk about United Infrastructure. For people that are listening and maybe never heard of United Infrastructure, tell us a little bit about the company, the sort of scale, and in particular, and your role within it.
Absolutely. So absolutely love the company. We do some incredible work. So we've recently gone for a rebrand. We were United Living, now United Infrastructure. So we will look at anything and everything from gas pipelines, wastewater, rainwater. We do electrical vehicle infrastructure. That doesn't sort of sit under me. We've then got connected. So that's your telecoms, that's, internet access to homes, blocks of flats and things like that. And then you've got where I sit. So we're social infrastructure. And we look at anything from responsive repairs. So social housing clients who will have a faulty tap, for example, or a boiler breakdown. We will deal with that immediately on behalf of our lovely clients. And we'll also do cyclical work. So big roof repairs, window replacements. And then you've got me. And I sit within, obviously, retrofit and how we support our clients to deliver retrofit scale, and how we do that in the most kind of thoughtful way, innovative way, and with integrity, I think. And that's one of the things I love about the work that we do. There is a lot of thought and consideration into how we're doing it. So,
and give us an idea of the scale of United Infrastructure. Sort of how big is your sort of social housing work?
So, in terms of the actual business, we've got over 2,000 employees, direct and subcontractor. In terms of the work that we do, we work with multiple different clients within decarb. And one of the great things about the business, and it is still very much in its infancy in terms of how we're looking at it. So we will have a client that we're doing cyclical works for, and actually the business is now starting to go, oh, hold on a minute. So if we're going in and we're doing a roof replacement, could we use innovation to bring this property into decarb work, through the government funding, and actually upgrade it holistically, not just in silo. Yeah. So the business are really, really open to doing it and taking that approach. But again, it's like anything, it's not an overnight sort of solution. But yeah, so lots of different things, and we do operate on mass, cover the entire country, sort of north all the way down to south. So yeah, some exciting things. We also forgot to mention, we also look at I think we've just been awarded one of the first carbon capture projects for the United Kingdom, which is really, really exciting. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on. Yeah,
well, it's obvious that innovation is one of the core values of United Infrastructure. Yeah. And one of your roles is championing that innovation within. Tell us a little bit about maybe some of the unique things that you do as a company. I know, for example, that you have a sort of internal innovation board as well. That's quite unique. Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
so we're so lucky. And funny enough, that's how I kind of got into innovation in the first place. So I'd come from client side over to contractor side, and I had an idea around how we do resident engagement more effectively. We've got something called a Cultivate portal. Hadn't heard about it, a couple of pop-up banners around. So just submitted an idea, and it's picked up by an internal team. So we have an innovation board at exec level and senior leadership team level, and then someone who manages that for us. So the whole business can feed in ideas on ways of working better. I mean, I'm sure she'll cover it later. Innovation kind of covers lots of different things. It's not just shiny new toys and things like that. So, but yeah, internally, we've got a really, really good route from idea through to actually, let's get this implemented in the business. Let's make a difference and let's do it better. So yeah, very, very lucky to have that, I think.
It's interesting that you mentioned, sort of innovation isn't just shiny new toys, because I think one thing that we debate a lot on this podcast actually is, what is innovation? How do you define it?
It's hard. I think it means different things to different people. And I think, like we just said, initially people will just go, oh, AI, tech, and things like that. I think for me, it's very much around taking the ordinary and questioning it and being, is there a better way to do this? Is there a more effective way to do this? Does it then incorporate some new wonderful tech? Great, maybe. And if it doesn't, that's fine. It is just about being open to challenging the way things are done, and could they be done better, but not creating work for work's sake. No one wants that.
Like many of the people I have on the podcast, you wear multiple hats, and one of the organisations that you work or actually run one of their working groups is the NHDG. Tell us a little bit about the NHDG, and in particular then the sort of the working group that you you champion and chair?
So the National Home Decarb Group it's such an incredible kind of, I don't want to call it a project, just such an incredible thing that's been formed. So it's various other tier one contractors like United Infrastructure coming together under 3 different pillars. So we've got innovation, we've got skills, and we've got green skills, and we've got policy. And it brings us together and creates an open, honest forum where we can discuss the challenges that we're having, how we can make a difference, because we're living it every day. Yeah. It's real world experience from the project managers, from, even up to sort of CEO level, where you have that space to talk about how to make impactful change. And I think one of the things that we're really trying to focus in on now is not just having those conversations, is actually how we do make change, because people like to talk a lot. But I think actually having an impact and making a difference is by doing.
And that's a really powerful group, because I imagine across all those tier ones, you're looking after tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of homes.
Yes, lots. So no, there are some incredible people there. And like I said, it really goes back to creating a safe space for people, I think, so that no one feels like we're in competition. It's actually, do you know what, this works for us, this has been great. Or we're struggling here, can we make a difference by doing X, Y, and Z? And obviously I'm very much invested in the innovation side of it, but the other groups are fantastic and doing some really, really exciting things for the industry as well, I think. So
tell us a little bit about the innovation group, maybe the sort of some of the goals that you have, or what you're sort of looking for or looking to achieve.
I think so. In terms of goals, it's very much the foundation of it is to be open and honest about the challenges, because I think innovation only comes when you talk openly about things that we know we can perhaps do better. The innovation group are also very much looking to champion new innovation within the space, whether that's AI, tech, product, whatever. So it's about trying to drive change effectively, and really, again, make a difference to the industry, where it's I think decarbonisation in particular is still kind of relatively in its infancy en masse and at scale, especially sort of working alongside our clients as well. And we need to go on that journey together. I think you can't continue to work in silo. I think, the more collaboration, the better it's going to be for everyone, us, clients, and obviously the residents being at the heart of it. So
and let's talk about some of those challenges, I suppose, because from a Futurebuild perspective, our partnership began, a year or 2 years ago, and we launched the Big the Big Retrofit Challenge. And that was really a call for innovation across the industry, but it was based really on some of the challenges that you as a group of tier one contractors had and wanted to find some solutions. What are the sort of biggest ones at the moment?
I think some of the biggest challenges for me are around, obviously I can't speak for everybody. I think some of the biggest challenges do seem to be coming from effective resident engagement. Obviously we touched on that at the beginning. How we integrate tech, AI into our industry in a very effective way. I'm a huge fan of digital twin, and within United Infrastructure, we're really, really trying to use that to combat two pinch points there, I guess. So actually we can use it to mitigate multiple visits for our residents, which means they're going to be more brought in and engaged to the work that we're doing. And obviously it's really cool tech. It's a product at the end for our clients as well, a holistic overview of their property, their stock. And then I think the other thing would be around product. And by products, I mean sort of not, latest shiny new air source heat pump. It's things like one of the winners was Indie Nature. So that's a circular, holistic approach to what is actually quite a standard loft top up, but using hemp. And people have just gone mad for it within the business. They absolutely love it because it's a wonderful new product. It is something slightly different, and it's much longer life in terms of the outcomes of what it's delivering. So there's lots of different things that kind of cover it, I think.
Before we go a bit further into the 2025 competition, I'd love to touch on something that I found personally really interesting, which was part of the criteria was really to uncover those sort of startup scale-ups. You were very keen as an organisation in the brief to sort of try and support grassroots innovation. Yes. But I know at the same time that poses real challenges. especially with what we can put into social and retrofit work. Love to get your sort of opinion on that.
Yeah, so I mean, completely agreed that those grassroots products are absolutely incredible, and we've IC Green are one of them that we're looking to work on, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I think in terms of the challenges, a lot of it around social housing decarb will come from the SAP uplift contribution that they will make to a property. So obviously to get your funding, you have to hit an EPCC. We can't put anything into a home that is not going to make a positive impact on that uplift. And I know the Appendix Q process for SAP uplift is extremely challenging for a lot of the startups and a lot of the grassroots companies. And I think that is something that needs to be looked at, perhaps from a policy level, which is, again, where the NHDG can play an amazing part because they've got the policy working group. We can look to have those conversations with the right people and try and make a positive impact there. But I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges. I think perhaps from a client perspective as well, that it's certainly not a lack of understanding or an unwillingness. I think it's time constraints to understand and get involved in what's coming through. It's very much a case of, well, get to EPCC, you do it by using this product, and actually there you go, box ticked, off we go, next one. And I'm not saying, that's certainly not the case for everyone, but it's about bringing clients on the innovation journey as well, I think, and actually getting them to understand what it means to support grassroots SMEs, but also the positive impact they can have on their projects at that scale. There's a lot of challenges, I think, to it. They're exciting and they can certainly be overcome. I think it's just going to take us a little bit more time.
Certification gets brought up a lot with startups as well, and obviously a lot of the time their products are going through testing, or they're not at the stage of that. And I think on social housing they have to hit certain criteria as well to be specified, don't they?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So I mean, we at United Infrastructure, we do a lot of work with the Salford Energy House. It's an absolutely incredible unit where you can kind of champion those new innovation products, tools, whatever it is that's coming through. But obviously not everybody can access that. It will continue to be a challenge, and I think what's exciting in the space is that we can still try and support SMEs and grassroots innovation. I think we just need to find a way to do it quickly and at scale.
Let's trial it out on some of the private work and then bring it into the social housing work.
Absolutely. Most definitely. I think that anything, I'm a big fan of case studies, anything where you can, do a case study, prove it, sort of showcase that it works. Then those kind of key buy-in points with the clients, especially, and even, sort of wider business is then that much easier.
So for anyone who's listening to this and maybe doesn't know about the Big Retrofit Challenge, we obviously launched it last year. Give us sort of the headlines. What is it? And then let's go into sort of maybe some of the success that came out of the last edition. And then we're going to go on to launching the 2026 version. Yeah,
definitely. So last year was the first year that we ran it, and I was lucky enough to be sort of one of the people marking all the submissions that come in. So I had a really, really fantastic opportunity to sort of dive into the things that were coming through, and there were some great products. So I think the challenge itself is obviously trying to narrow down those winners from a really, really great pool of innovation.
I think we had about 19.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. And then I think it's about taking them, making sure that they are sort of right for what we're trying to achieve. Are they in a position where we can sort of offer them a springboard, I suppose, into retrofit in the decarb world? And then that incredible opportunity to get on stage at Futurebuild, and the audience that is available to them is so valuable, I think. And then the links with the NHDG, where the scope to link in with the other tier one contractors or the other members of the pillars is huge. So it's a really, really great competition, and glad.
So we went from 90, a short list of 90 entries. I know you shortlisted down to 7, and they pitched at the show, and then obviously held meetings with the NHDG members. And there were 2 in particular, weren't they, that maybe caught your eye? And I think you've already mentioned them, but I'd love to go on to. So those were Indie Nature, with their Indie Firm and Indie Brief products, and iSense by IC Green as well. Tell us a little bit about those. You've sort of gone into hemp insulation, but let's talk about the iSense as well and what that product is, and maybe have they been trialled, and are we seeing them on United Infrastructure projects? That'd be really exciting to hear.
So Indie Nature, absolutely. We've had to go through quite a complex, like anything with procurement and things like that, quite a complex process to sort of get them into the business. We hosted, as in United Infrastructure, we hosted an innovation week where we took quite a few. So we had Anzen as well, a few of the Retrofit Challenge winners, put them in front of the business. And that's not just decarb, that was looking at the responsive repairs and cyclical works as well. And it just gave them an opportunity to meet a broader range of people within the business. So to the point with them now, we've got them into one of our large scale suppliers so that we can roll them out on not just decarb, we can roll them out within our planned cyclical works and responsive repairs as well. So that's really, really exciting. And they're not limited then either by any kind of SAP. It doesn't make a difference because they have the recognition under SAP. But we can then get them into a broader range of products. So it's really supporting that homegrown innovation on a big scale, which to me is what the Big Retrofit Challenge is all about. Plus they've got a fantastic factory. I haven't been to it yet, but the offer's been there and I can't wait to go. And then with IC Green, I was extremely lucky that one of our clients is huge, massively into innovation, and they knew of them anyway. So actually it was quite an organic process to get them onto the project. So I've had a couple of chats with them, and they've just had all their units ordered for wave 3. So they're a really exciting and thorough look at monitoring and evaluation of homes before we even start to obviously look at retrofitting, which for me is probably one of the biggest innovation sort of things that we need to look at within decarb. People talk about monitoring and evaluation, and again, it's a bit like, can we do enough? Do we do it based on archetype, or actually do we do it in every home, or just the homes with damp and mold and things like that? But IC Green are wonderful in that they will look at everything kind of 360, and it's not an invasive monitoring and evaluation product either. I think sometimes there's a little bit of resistance from people when they think that we're almost kind of Big Brother sort of style looking at how they're living in their homes, and it's just not like that. It's just about making sure that we're getting an accurate snapshot of that property before we then take it through the retrofit journey. And they're wonderful, very, very passionate as well about what they're doing. And they're a Cambridge startup, so very, very smart people who know exactly what they're doing, which is great.
And I think those two examples are what really made, from my perspective, the Big Retrofit Challenge such a success, because you're supporting. You couldn't get two companies that are wider apart in terms of the innovation. Obviously hemp, to got a digital monitoring, but them going from pitch to actually being trialed, it's fantastic. So that's what it's all about.
That is absolutely what it's all about. And I think as the NHDG, we are extremely passionate and extremely driven to support those innovators. It's not just a case of putting them on stage at Futurebuild and then kind of going, all right, fingers crossed, off you go. We hope you get on all right. It is about supporting them through that journey. And alluded to it earlier about case study building for them. Some of them are still very, very much at the beginning of that journey. And I'm obviously speaking on behalf of the wider group that is what it's all about, and that is what we're looking to do.
Well, we're really pleased to say the Big Retrofit Challenge 2.0 is back.
It is.
It's launched.
Yep.
And it's a collaboration once again between Innovate UK, Futurebuild, and the NHDG.
Yep.
The full support of all the tier 1 contractors, which is fantastic. So we've launched it. What's new? What's new this year? What are you looking for?
So I think the actual setup of how it worked last year was absolutely brilliant. So there were those kind of organic conversations at the start before some of the innovators went up on stage. What's new for this year? The questions and things are more or less the same in terms of the application. It's what happens afterwards. So we want to use the space at Futurebuild, because it's such an incredible space, to give our innovators, the winners, a platform to have conversations with us, with our clients, to start talking about pain points where they are in their journey in a lot more detail. So the NHDG Pavilion at Futurebuild will have its own stage, which will be for the innovators, as well as other things, obviously. But that's one of the key changes. And I think it's then supporting those relationships once they're starting to be formed. So, could you come and work on one of my projects? What does that look like? So on and so forth. So that is probably the biggest change, is that support afterwards, and then the commitment from a larger number of the NHDG members to support the winners onto other projects. So yeah,
because they're probably jealous. They've seen the success.
Well,
no comment. I know one thing that you've put in there that's slightly different is the focus on social value.
Yeah.
Tell us why that's important.
So social value is massively important in general. And I think with any innovation or any startup, that's not in the forefront of their mind. They're not necessarily thinking about the end user in a huge amount of detail. I mean, I'm summarizing, obviously, it might not necessarily be the case for everyone. It is very much more about getting that innovative product right for them, getting it to market. So I think we've asked them to really think about what social value means to them, what they could be doing around social value, and actually starting to build it into a business model so that it fits with the decarb world and our client, needs to look at things holistically and focus on communities and people, not just product and outcome. So that is a question, and that's certainly something that we would like to encourage people to really think about, because it's huge, and it has to be. This is very much around doing the right thing on every level. So
it's great. You can reflect on 2025. You have that 90 entries. You've got that down to 7. What is it you're looking for in 26? What's some of the maybe from a United Infrastructure perspective? What's some of the things you'd love to try and uncover?
Yeah, so I think I would love to see something around really, really effective resident engagement. What that looks like, how we are able to use tech and AI as well, and maybe perhaps even bringing those two things together. As long as it's not another app. I think we have lots of apps for things. But yeah, how we can sort of look at that. Again, I touched on it earlier. For me, digital twin, AI and innovation around how we mitigate multiple touch points in projects, specifically for decarb, as I'm sure anyone going through a decarb project will know, that is one of the pain points. And then I think very, very similar to what we've done with India is actually taking something that you might not even necessarily think about and going, oh, actually, could we do this in a different way? So whether it's a product, so again, Anzen did it brilliantly, an air source heat pump that actually kind of takes it that next step. So yeah, there's kind of a few, I think there's about 3 key categories, actually really drilling down on how we engage, how we deliver and educate en masse product, and then obviously AI and tech. You've got to have that in there, I think. I mean, if we can get one that covers all 3, that would be wonderful.
There you go, that's the silver bullet. We try and make this as simple as possible. We really want small companies it not to be an over laborious task. So, people will be able to, and there was a link in the bio to this podcast, but people will be able to go onto the form. It's a series of questions to fill in. It's we're not asking for war and peace. Which is good. But what advice would you give to maybe some of those first-time applicants, the sort of the small startups? What advice would you give them?
I think so long as the passion for the product kind of and whatever it is they're looking to do in the innovation space comes through, I think, like I said earlier, sort of really making sure they're thinking in detail about the end user, also about the client or the project or whatever it is that they want to get their innovation offer into. Is it something that has to go through a laborious process in order to be able to actually get onto projects? So actually really, really thinking about real world use as well, I think would be key. But yeah, it very much we're open to anything and everyone. I think just seeing some of the new and exciting things coming through, I just would say, just don't be scared to apply. Like either way, you will get feedback from those who are marking it. And you never know, an application that isn't necessarily successful this year might still stick in someone's brain, or go, oh, do you know what? I read that and that sounded exciting. Was it right for me right now? Maybe not. Actually, could it be in a year or so's time? So again, it's connections, isn't it? It's networking and it's sort of getting yourself out there. So yeah, definitely apply.
And obviously you're one of the judges.
Yes.
So I would love to, I think about or ask you, what separates a good entry from a great entry? What got those 7 last year, over the line?
That's a really, really difficult question. Again, I think it's how how they talk about the product, how that comes over. I think it is also really looking at what the offer is and being able to articulate it in detail, so that it obviously makes sense and it builds a picture in the judge's head. It's, again, just anything new and exciting that has perhaps maybe not been thought about or is old and is just a newer, more exciting way of doing things. So it's quite a hard one to answer.
Well, this is a call for innovation.
Yes.
We want those innovators to enter, so please enter. I'd love to finish maybe the podcast on some questions around, I think we always talk about, there's barriers to innovation, but actually there seems to be a whole groundswell at the moment of people wanting to adopt new ways of doing things. And it's clear to see from the NHDG and the tier one contractors that the appetite's there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about maybe on the client side, because you have to work with the local authorities and the housing associations. What's their view on innovation?
I think it really depends on the client. So if you've got, or if, for example, if we're working someone who's only just gone through that funding kind of piece where they're building out what their project's going to look like, how many homes, architects and things, there are so many things they have to think about. And it's very much down to, I suppose, client time constraints, understanding, and desire to kind of go maybe above and beyond what a funding criteria is. So you could have somebody, completely on the flip side, who will be absolutely, throw all these wonderful new innovation techniques and ways of working and doing things at us, and we'll look at them and we'll try and feed them into our projects. I suppose I can't speak for clients, but I do think funding constraints and capital, their side constraints, money obviously will always come into it, is probably a bit of a barrier to innovation. I mean, innovation shouldn't necessarily cost more. I mean, obviously that's not necessarily always the case, but I think that's certainly, it's something different, isn't it? And people are sometimes always a bit more nervous about change. But I think tier ones or anyone who's managing a project on behalf of a client, it's our duty to make sure that we help people see things, again, holistically. So, when you're looking at monitoring and evaluation, that will help you do better, that will help you innovate better, or help you bring in products that you perhaps didn't think were necessarily right in the first place, actually into a project. So it's about having early conversations, I think, with your clients as much as anything in it, and bringing them on that journey with you. I keep kind of going back to that, but it is that. Otherwise, you're just it's not going to work. We'll be trying to do all these new and wonderful things and go, oh no, that's too expensive, or I don't understand that, or who's going to look after that if it's on a, for example, a digital twin, you're feeding them all this wonderful new information. Well, that's great. Where's it going to sit? Who's going to look after it? That kind of thing. So
You mentioned earlier things like the Energy House,
yes.
And we've had the BRE Innovation Park, and lots of universities have these sort of, amazing pilot projects. And I just wonder, how do we get innovation, out of the pilot and then to mass scale as well? And I think maybe, that's one of the challenges I think that maybe the tier one contractors need to take on.
That is such a big challenge. I wish I had the answer to that. I completely agree with you. But again, I think that's a bigger conversation perhaps outside of me. I know it needs to happen. I don't know how we do it, whether it is through more effective collaboration. So having those conversations with the right people, again, client side, innovator side, NHDG, how we do that. Right now it's not happening, and it probably needs to. But I think we need to understand the pain points, the pinch points. Is it funding? Is it lack of understanding? And I think only then can we sort of try and look to scale that. So
and I think that's what the Big Retrofit Challenge is all about. It's trying to get these these innovations scaled. Let's fast forward. It's 2030. We've been running now the Big Retrofit Challenge for 5 years. What's the impact you'd like to see it have?
So I think I would love to see new and exciting products that aren't kind of a one size fits all. There's some amazing things happening outside of sort of air source heat pumps with infrared heating technologies, things like that. Seeing them scaled, I think seeing tech and AI innovators built into basic delivery, everyday delivery, because again, at the moment, it all still feels slightly archaic, I think. And obviously I can only speak from experience over the last few years. But there are better ways of doing things than sending a letter or going door knocking, things like that. And sort of going back, I suppose, to the monitoring and evaluation, really seeing innovation and scale with that, and actually sharing lessons learned and making sure that whatever it is coming out of the Big Retrofit Challenge and all these wonderful things we're looking to do is being shared so that we can continue to evolve and improve. Because people are sometimes a little bit more reluctant to do that, I think. And I don't think we'll be able to, I suppose going back to your previous question, I don't think we'll be able to scale if we're not sharing where we're not necessarily hitting the mark, so that we can actually grow and collaborate and learn together better.
Brilliant. And, you know, and that's what Futurebuild's all about. It's about bringing people together and connecting. And I'm really excited. So actually, you know, just going back, so Big Retrofit Challenge 2 is open now for entries. So if you listen to this, click, go through the form, enter. Then we have a judging process.
Yes.
Where we're going to take that down to 6 or 7 shortlisted again. Let's just go through. So they'll be able to pitch at the show.
Yes.
On our conference, actually, on the National Retrofit Conference. So that's in front of an audience of around 200, 250.
Yes, it's a big stage. Yeah.
And then the NHDG have got a pavilion again.
Yes, yep.
Brilliant. So you can come and meet the tier 1 contractors on the pavilion. But new for 26, so you can have a mini stage.
Yes.
Brilliant. So that's going to include talks and pitches from that shortlist.
Yes.
As well as other content that you will be delivering as the working groups.
Yes, yep, that's the plan.
Fantastic.
So yeah, some really exciting things to come, I think.
All right, thank you so much for your time, and thank you again for supporting this amazing challenge.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.